So you're going to have to listen to us for next little bit until we can figure out what's going on. But this is Lawrence Sutton back with you, and Chris Morris is coming back to the radio station. We had already left, and we came back. So want to talk a little bit about some things that we normally don't get a chance to talk about, and one of the things that I have been seeing is what we've been looking at on this chat GBT. And the chat GBT has been taking over with our computer systems. If everybody hadn't been looking in on this, you have what is called Open AI, which is artificial intelligence. And we have had a huge uproar in our artificial intelligence and what has been going on with it.
Happy Thanksgiving from Fort by Justin.
You've had Microsoft has gotten involved with this company called Open AI.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And they are the ones that were the inventors of the chat
Sometimes
GPT.
I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So
what they are doing is they're trying to basically
the world's
have
#1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best
these
you
computers
tomorrow.
are starting to think
I'm
the
awake
same way.
and ready to take on anything.
Better
I tell
days
you,
start
when I've looked
with
at this
ZQL nights.
and I've looked
Explore
into
our
it, it
products
has
at
been a
ZQL.com.
very scary situation, almost like what we used to do when I grew up
That's
watching
Mike
the Terminator
saying
movies.
good morning.
We're sitting
That's
here
the
looking
best
at
you can do right
Terminator
now.
being designed
Yeah, not
right
a cloud
now.
in the sky. What Mike could use
A lot of
is
times
fresh
people
start.
are looking at
and
it as,
Irish
especially
Spring
the younger
body
people,
wash.
it's like, oh, well,
Fresh
it's
scent
on a
of Irish
computer, it's
Spring
harmless.
and those sensational Irish Spring
But
suds are
I will
just the
tell you
reset
this,
Mike
if
needs.
it was harmless,
he's ready.
then look at
Go to
how they're
work.
using the
It's
artificial
Sunday.
intelligence
Irish
with
Spring.
these drones.
When the spring hits you,
and how they
you're
are
ready.
using the drones
Pick up Irish Spring today.
as attack
This is Brandon
vehicles
Taylor, chairman of the Lawrence
instead
County
of
Republican Party.
using
And I want to invite you to join us
humans.
every Wednesday from 5 to 6
And
p.m. as we talk about what's going on in our
us
county,
as
local
humans,
elections,
we
statewide
have
elections.
more
All the other radio shows are
of
only going to be talking about what
capability
we're actually doing.
of
I
love
compared a vending machine to a voting
and
machine. Because when you
kindness,
go up to vote, it's very similar
even
to going to a
against
vending
our
machine. You go to a vending
enemies,
machine, you can get Pepsi or you
than
can get
any
Diet Pepsi.
computer
And that's what
would
I've
ever
noticed
be
through the
able
voting machine. You go up there, you
to
start to vote, it's
give.
like, well, you get one here, one's just
So
sugar.
I just wanted to bring
And
that up. I
call
want
in
to
and
have
be a
people
part
to
of
start
real
looking
political action committee. I'll see you
for
Wednesday at 5.
What do bowlers
looking
and
up
Thanksgiving have in
this
common?
artificial
They both want a turkey.
intelligence. Start
This Thanksgiving,
looking
King
at
Lanes
it
would like to
and
say thank you
exploring
to their
it,
loyal bowlers
talking
and
with your
customers
kids
who've made
about
them
it, to
Lawrenceburg's
me,
#1 family
is
fun place
nothing
for
to
over
be
the past
played
20
with.
years. Happy Thanksgiving from Kingpin Lanes.
So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about since we're filling air with Rich Eisen not being on here. Another thing that has been going on, I don't know if everybody's been following this, but and we kind of touched it on our program last, everything that's going on right now with the Palestinian and Hamas protesters.
Reach out to us today at
And
931-244-7122
to me, this is something that has
We'll
been
design a
very
market plan
dangerous.
tailored just for your property. Thanks and God bless.
Also, is the acceptance of terrorism, especially on our college campuses. I will tell you this, God was very plain with Abraham in Genesis chapter 16 when he said, I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you. And we are seeing our society turning against Israel and are actually taking the sides of Hamas, who was really the aggressors and who started the fight. Now, Israel is trying to end the fight, but they did not start this fight. But yet we're having college campuses and protesters all over the United States that are going and saying that what Israel has done is wrong, when actually all Israel is doing is defending itself. So I have been looking into and I have been seeing how people are reacting against terrorist organizations here in America, where we are supposed to be free and where we do not support anything that deals with the murder or killing of innocent lives. And we are now looking at, and we're justifying it on these, like I said, by these protesters, and they're called pro-Palestinian demonstrations. But make no mistake, it's the Hamas that are having these demonstrations and that are egging on these demonstrations. We even have in California right now, where we had the Democratic Party, and they were choosing their delegates, had Palestinian protesters come in, and they literally shut down the California Democratic Party and did not allow them to have their meetings, and they violated where the meetings were being held at. And I'm going to tell you something. That is not acceptable, even if it's the Democrats that it happened to. That is just not acceptable. Where we are actually taking this and we are going to side with the aggressor and not the Jewish state of Israel protecting themselves. Well, Chris, you came back to us.
I did. Don't know what happened. You just said, hey, you need to come back to the radio station. I was on my way to Pulaski.
Well, here's what happened is that the Rich Eisen show, for whatever reason, is not playing. So they get to hear us some more until then, until they get their program either found or something. But something has gone on, and it's just not playing right now. And I told WDXE that we would be willing to come in, or back in, I should say, and fill the dead air. Because as we all know, it's the fastest hour on our radio, and we really have the ability to do 3 hours at a time, and not just 1 hour. And I just wanted to thank you for coming back here with us.
Yes, sir. I didn't know. Did the show with Senator Walley, did it work?
Oh yeah, everything worked.
Okay.
Yeah, everything has worked. It's just that for whatever reason the syndicated program, the Rich Eisen show, is not on. The commercials are even playing. So, we don't.
It's just dead air.
It's just dead air.
It scared me when they pulled back up. I thought, oh, Lord, we do everything the same. And Laura does an excellent job. For just turned 13 years old, this is a very intelligent little girl over here,
Hey, her head's not going to fit. Her head's not going to fix through that door. You keep talking.
Listen, we're proud of her. Yeah. But anyway, she's looking at us like, what? But
Laura, are you able to tell if the commercials are playing or not while we're on air?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't have access to the radio on the computer, so I can't actually tell. You know what? Let me try.
Okay, yeah. Try to see if you can do it on headphones.
I was just going to mention, if anybody from the street department in the city of Lawrenceburg is listening, I want you guys to come out here to the back of WLX in the street over here, 1st Street, I think, or 1st Avenue, and fix this entrance. I mean, it's dark as a dungeon out there. It's raining. It's hard to see, and you will tear a vehicle up quick, because Lawrenceburg has always had it's been something for years with their street, their drain and gutter system. They got those dips in it.
Right.
And this one behind the radio station, I wish you guys would appreciate what y'all do, but I wish you'd take a look at it.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I feel kind of blessed that we're given this extra time, because there's a lot of things that we really didn't get to discuss, with Senator Walley. And one of the things that I had looked at and had wanted to talk with Page about was, he had mentioned that for the last 10 years he has noticed a huge uptick in people that are having mental health issues. And I really would have liked to have known what is causing those large uptick in the mental illnesses. Do you have any idea on your end what you think would cause that?
3-minute stations, 3 minutes to your next
one thing
Fox
that comes
News
to
3030.
mind right now, and I think about this, we live in a constant changing environment. If anybody doesn't understand that, something's wrong. But I think over a period of not just the last 5 years, even 10 years, I think some of the physicians out there, and I'm sorry to say this, have over-medicated people. I think that can create a problem into mental illness or depression, being on the wrong type of medication, and you have anxiety. I've seen folks with different strokes on everything. I'm just thankful the good Lord has made me who I am, and I do not have to seek that type of treatment, and I really feel for people that do.
2 minutes to your next Fox News 3030.
It's a big problem. And, you learn a lot from listening to people about, just like Kip talking about the sheriff's department, both Lawrence and Wayne, having to carry folks over to Bolivar and having to have a deputy out of the county. That's just so asinine in my book.
Right. That's right.
And I feel sorry for the citizens, because I know probably the sheriffs in both those counties, I know John over here, they're doing everything they can to protect and serve. That's what their job is to do. They wasn't in the transportation business or the mental health business. And I don't know how that ever got pawned off to the sheriff's department, because that should not be in their description by no means. That should be something that our state has really got to take a serious look at.
1 minute stations.
Well,
1 minute to your next Fox News 3030.
I wish I remember what the numbers are, but I'm pretty sure it was 90% or more of all of the mental hospital beds over the last 30 years have been done away with. And that was the other question that I would have had for Page or any kind of a psychologist, is once you have a person where they have gotten that bad where it has come under psychosis, what are the chances of them being changed? Where they can become productive members of society again? Or was it like what they used to do back in the early 1900s, where they just put people that they considered insane away into these hospitals? Almost kind of like how people have to go into nursing homes.
Insane asylums.
Yeah, the insane asylums.
It's
Fox News, I'm Deborah Valentine. Israel reportedly considering a deal that would free some hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Fox's Jeff Paul is in southern Israel.
Multiple reports indicating this potential deal could involve the release of 50 hostages, women and children, from Gaza in exchange for a 4 to 5 day pause in the fighting.
10 Americans are believed among 230 hostages held. 2024 GOP presidential candidates campaigning in Iowa. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, trailing GOP hopefuls, denies he'll run as a third-party candidate.
I'm running for the Republican nomination.
We're
the best
trying
next
to make
GOP debate, December 6th in Alabama. First Lady Jill Biden receiving the official White House Christmas tree today.
So I hope you'll all come back during the holidays with your families and join us and come see the tree when it's decorated.
The government's trying
America
to control
is listening
us.
to Fox News.
Honestly, that's where I'm going. The government is trying to reach more and more into every individual's life. It ain't got nothing to do whether you're Republican or you're Democrat. Folks, wake up. Look around. I was on this weekend. There was a graph or chart that came out, listed the top 10 counties in the state of Tennessee on harvesting deer every year. And number one was Giles. I said, well, we got to be number one at something.
Right.
There was 4,300 deer harvested last year and last season. Lawrence County was number 2. And I think it's been that way for several years. But this is one thing that I want people to think. I got to reading that, and thinking about how the Tennessee TWRA broke down that this many were killed by archery, this many by muzzleloader, and this many by long rifles. And the first thing or pistols, first thing I thought about was, well, why don't they break the archery down from string bow and crossbow? And just laughed about it. And the comment that came back to me says, why do you need a license to hunt?
Amen.
Hunting and fishing are rights, God-given rights. They're not privileges.
Why do we do that?
We let government intrusion into our life little by little. And now my understanding, back then you used to have to buy, when I don't hunt anymore. I'm not against hunting at all. I just don't have
have time.
I don't have the time. And it's very enjoyable to get out there in the woods early in the morning. You know, I used to get up early at 3:30 in the morning and go get in a deer stand before daylight. You had to be, and of course, back when I was younger, the winters were colder. You know, this time of year it was even colder to me than what it is now.
I know.
And you know,
we've had a warm winter.
We've had a warm winter, and I hope this changes because deer season has started. Deers are beginning to be in rut.
Yep.
And so anyway, I counted a bunch of dead deer up the interstate going to Nashville Saturday.
Yeah, where they got hit, on the side of the road.
So anyway, I get to thinking about the deer hunting. And now, back when I hunted, you had to buy a license and a big game stamp. You had to have both, to hunt deer.
Yeah.
And now you simply check your deer in by this creature right here.
Yeah, our cell phone, by the way.
Your cell phone.
Yep.
And that's what I'm calling the creature. Do you know what that does when I let the TWRA know I tag a deer that way?
Mm-mm.
That gives my coordinates of where that deer was killed.
Absolutely, it does.
So there is another step of Big Brother.
Oh, they're tracking us. They're using our cell phone to track us.
So they're tracking us. So why do we need a license?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Why do you need a license? One, it's revenue source.
It's revenue.
Okay. So, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It's revenue. But also it is to control us. You know, it's kind of funny you mentioned the phone. It brought me back, and I'm having flashbacks, almost PTSD, and I'm not trying to make fun of PTSD by any means or what our military's gone through. But it reminded me of Bill Lee. And Bill Lee during COVID was saying that we are going to track people by their cell phone, and if we find too many people congregated, we may, now he never did it, but he came out and they were talking about it, we may send law enforcement there. And so that told me right then and there that our government, even down to our state government, had the ability to track us on our cell phone.
Overreach, government overreach.
It is, and people. I'm going to tell you, we're not doing our Friday show, but it kind of segments into it, with what we're talking about, and it's the mark of the beast, and the mark of the beast is all about the controlling of people, and it's controlling who buys and sells. It controls, if they control whether you buy or sell, which really means this: buying, yes. But what I mean by buying is going to the stores. But people don't understand the selling part. The selling part is you going to your job. That's what that really meant, was your job. You're going to your job. So they're going to control you, how you go to work, where you go to work, and they're going to control you how you spend your money and where you spend your money. Does it sound a lot like what happened during COVID?
It absolutely does. And, one thing that I've enjoyed watching, I get tired, there's nothing good on TV, even the news. For the most part, it's polarizing you. You watch commercials now, it's all about homosexuality.
Right.
And I think back when I was younger, the reason they took the Three Stooges And I'm not talking about the Tennessee Three. Those thugs. I'm talking about the real Three Stooges as children, little rascals. They were talking about how violent they were.
Right.
Now we're promoting so much violence, so much murder and mayhem in shows on TV and commercials. Instead of Mr. What was the Ruppel that don't squeeze the Charmin?
Oh yeah, don't squeeze the Charmin, right?
Right,
yeah.
And he would squeeze the Charmin.
Yeah.
We got homosexuals holding hands, men with men, women with women.
That's Romans chapter 1. It talks about that, men with men doing unseemingly and ungodly things.
Right.
And women losing affection for men and going with women.
And the same way with men.
Right. And that's in Romans chapter 1.
Right.
And then after that, God gives them over to a reprobate mind. You know, which, you like calling them trans Republicans. I call them reprobate Republicans.
Yeah.
Because God has given them over to their own desires and thoughts where God's like, okay, I'm throwing my hands up. I'm done. You know, God did that one other time too. And it was before the flood when God said, enough.
You talking about with Sodom and Gomorrah?
No, I'm talking about the flood.
The flood. The great flood.
The great flood. He did the same thing. He just told Noah. He just warned Noah. And, you know, during that whole 100 years that Noah was building the ark, Noah was actually out trying to warn people. And God was so over the continual violence. As a matter of fact, Genesis chapter 6 says that they only knew and thought of violence continuously in Romans chapter 6. Do you know what that actual word for violence in Hebrew, how it was originally written in Genesis chapter 6 was?
You would have to educate me.
It's called, the word is Hamas.
Hamas, okay.
That word violence translates
to Hamas.
Hamas, back when you go back to the Hebrew.
And I think that's what in the Bible, 68 times?
68 times, yes, sir.
So, you know, we do the best, Lawrence and I, and folks, Lawrence says it best, this is our opinions. Look it up and educate yourself. That's what people, we're not leaders, we're followers. We expect somebody else to do it for us, but please take the time. And Lawrence, we're talking about Scripture. A good book to read is chapter 38 and chapter 39 in Ezekiel.
Absolutely it is.
And then Psalms 83, the chapter of Psalms 83, Matthew chapter 24. Read it in its entirety. Don't go and hone in on just one verse.
It doesn't.
And then 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 is another good book in the Bible to read and chapter.
You know, you bring up, this, and again, this is my opinion on this. Now, what I said about the word Hamas, though, is not an opinion. That's actually,
it's real.
It's real. That's what God says. But you mentioned our cell phones, and now this is definitely conjuncture, in my opinion, on this. But in Matthew 24, it talks about the Antichrist. And Jesus says, and this is Jesus saying, he goes, if you see him in the desert, don't go. He's not there. Meaning that Jesus is not there. It's the Antichrist that's there. And then Jesus says, if they say, look, he's in a secret room. Okay? So I started thinking about that. A secret room. Now you got to remember, the Bible was written for us, Chris, but it wasn't written to us. And here's what I mean by that. When the Bible was written in the New Testament, 2,000 years ago, or 1,900 years ago, depending when the book was written, you're talking about, 2,000 years. How much has language changed and things have changed over that course of period of time? The only thing that hasn't changed is God's Word. But what's interesting is, why did he say a secret room? Well, I'm going to tell you why he says don't go looking for him, meaning Christ, in a secret room, because it's going to be the Antichrist. How would you, 2,000 years ago, explain a cell phone or a TV or a computer? to me, that's a secret room. And we won't see Christ, because Christ says when he comes back, everybody will see him. But we'll see the Antichrist in a secret room out in the desert. Like I said, my opinion on that, but it makes sense to me in my my redneck thought logic.
Villa.
Yeah, my redneck thought process. That makes sense to me.
I was mentioning just a few minutes ago that the main TV in general, news or regular shows, they're just not worth watching today. They polarize Americans.
Yes, sir.
They tried to indoctrinate Americans. It's just like I always get a kick out of the weather that they say, okay, in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and I'm talking about Channel 4, Channel 2, the weather predictor says at 2 p.m. it will be raining in this area. It's showing signs of rain. And people will say, well, at 2 o'clock it's going to be raining here in Lawrenceburg. Well, only God knows. It may be 3:30. It may be 5 o'clock. But that's what's funny is people get hung up and they get polarized by what the TV or the boob tube, as I used to call it, is telling you.
So I want you brought up this can of worms.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to take the can of worms. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole.
Oh, here we go, folks. Hold on to your seat.
Okay. So you mentioned the word TV, which is television.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you this. I am going to break down that word. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Tell a vision. The TV is tell a vision.
Good point.
Okay. What do we call all of the numbers when we are changing channels?
The programming?
Well, you're getting ahead of me.
Okay.
Channel. What do demons do? What do witches do? What do people that are psychic do? They channel. They channel you to their format. That's correct. So what? And that brings up another word: format. What is the TV program? It's formatting. Okay. Then you got to programming. Okay. So we're watching television programs. Okay. What is it that you do to people? What is it that the Nazis did?
They program people into taking their guns.
Right. Or program them into killing the Jews.
Right.
So people
they indoctrinate.
They indoctrinate, but we still use that word program, though. We program people. So I just, I look at that, again, this is how my mind thinks. I'm not saying it's correct, okay? I'm just telling you.
That's true. If people don't understand by now, we do everything wrong.
We don't even have our notes right now.
I don't have nothing but a cell phone in front of me, and I'm looking when something pops up. I've got into watching Ashamed. You ever watched that program? Duck Dynasty, folks, Phil Robinson, the children, and
I haven't, and I'll tell you why, is because back in 2011, or maybe in 2012, I can't remember, I got rid of all cable.
This is the Fox News Radio 5-minute news service. And this is your hourly audio and relay test at 46 past every hour. We'll now fire the following relays in this order. Relay 1, FN Rejoin, Join Network. Relay 0, FN Local, Drop Network. Relay 3, FN Net, Start Commercial.
And a lot of it's the commercials and everything else. I can't control what comes into my house. And just like you said earlier, I do not want my children growing up to think that
Hello, everyone. Roy Williams here, host of today's Health Update. I'd like to say thank you so much to all our listeners for tuning in to WDXE to learn how to live a longer, healthier, and more fulfilling life. Our feedback proves that the public loves the issues we talk about. We strive to cover the truth concerning physical, mental, spiritual, and even political health. So if you're one of those people who really do want to know the truth, then plan to tune in on WDXE from 4:30 to 5. That's Monday through Friday. Listen to today's Health Update. You'll be glad you did.
preaching the gospel.
I mean, I don't have anything against it.
It's really a good program. And you sit there, and they're so raw as well. There's no telling what they were talking about yesterday, the programming I was watching of their podcast. About Phil said the telephone. Now we got the celly phone. You know, and it was funny. It was humorous, brought out points. They talked about scripture. And I'm sitting here thinking, we're doing the same darn thing. When I was watching the program yesterday, I said, that's what we're doing.
We are here to serve. Give us a call.
You know, it's kind of funny. You know, here again, this is just where my mind goes. You say cell phone.
Yes, sir.
What do you think when you think of
Hey, folks, this is Josh from Striker Steakhouse.
I think of a
from our
human
catering,
cell.
our restaurant, or our takeout.
Well, when I think of a cell, I'm thinking
thank you for allowing us to serve you and your
prison
family.
sale.
Come visit us at Striker Steakhouse right here in Lawrenceburg,
So
Tennessee.
why did they call this a cell phone? Why didn't they call this a carry phone?
And a full menu
Why
all day
did
long.
they come
For
up
more
with the
information
name
on specials or to look up the menu, check
Why
out
did they
Striker
come up with the
Steakhouse
name
on Facebook
cell
or eat at
phone?
The only reason I
strikers.com. For
can
all
think of
to-go
that is
orders,
because
call
of cell towers.
931-244-7457.
Okay, so why are we calling it cell towers?
Nah,
At Citizens Bank, they are
I've never
truly
looked at it.
thankful
I've
for
never.
all the
I haven't
customers
either.
and
I haven't
employees
gone
and the
down that
community.
rabbit hole.
I haven't either.
Foxhole, rabbit hole,
whatever hole.
Happy
or
Thanksgiving from
crawdad hole.
Citizens
Yeah,
Bank.
yeah. But, you know, why are they calling this a cell phone? And to me, I'm going to tell you something.
Are you tired of what's going on in our
watch
country?
especially
I
some
am
of the
too.
younger,
This is Kip
the younger
Capley.
generation.
So let's talk about
they
it.
are
Join me
glued
every Monday from
to
5
the
to 6
cell
p.m.
phone.
WDXE Radio. We're talking
this cell
Tennessee.
phone
Call in,
runs
ask
their
questions,
lives.
and let's have a real conversation
Amen,
about what's
because
actually
now
going
we've
on
got
in our
this
country.
famous
Thank you,
thing,
Lawrence County. It's an honor to serve you in the 71st District.
And they've got
Listen to
these
my show every
earbuds
Monday
in
at
their
5 p.m.
ears
on
listening
WDXE,
to this
your local
cell
talk radio
phone.
station.
No matter, you don't know what they're listening to.
Hey y'all, this is Lauren Dixon.
And you're
Miss
saying,
Tennessee.
hey,
Did you know
just
that there
like
are
you and I, say
37
you got
blessing
earbuds
boxes
in. Hey,
in
Lawrence.
Lawrence County?
And
Would
you're
you share your
not
art
paying
for
me
the hungry
attention.
by
Hey,
purchasing
Lawrence,
non-perishable
I get a little
items
louder.
or hygiene
Third time I
items
get a
and
little
dropping
louder.
them
Next
off
time
at a
I'm going to
blessing
hit
box
you
near
to get your
or you can
attention.
drop them off
Because
at
we're
400
so,
South Realty.
you know,
At
there's
400
so
South
much
Realty, we are
about
located
what
at
has
1288
come down the
Avenue,
pike
just behind the radio
over the last few years, the technology. What would we have to do? And I've thought about this. Did you grow up on a party line system as a young kid?
So I remember the party line at my grandparents'. And I think my grandparents, up until I was about 5 or 6, they had a party line. But me personally, no. I know of people in my generation. You know,
I did.
I'm 51. They didn't even have indoor plumbing even. I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah.
You know.
The outhouse.
Right.
Slop jar.
Never had it. You know?
When you had the slop jar into the bed at night, you had to scoot it out and sit on the throne. Think about that.
Man,
now we got the Lowe's and Home Depot buckets.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. Thank God for indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as I get older, and you can appreciate this. You know, our bladder seems to shrink as we get older.
No, they get weaker.
Well,
you got to go quicker.
I'm trying to be politically correct here, you know. So
well, you know, you think about this that we're talking about the cell phones and the way everything has changed, and people are glued to these. No wonder we have so many stinking accidents, or you get rear-ended because people are paying attention to the darn phone.
Yeah.
They got their earbuds in. And especially if you're driving emergency traffic, an ambulance is trying to get to somebody that's having a heart attack or a stroke patient, and you can't even hear that ambulance coming because you're glued to this darn cell phone. It's just like computers. Thank you, Al Gore, for inventing the internet. But, you know, you got so much. If we had to go back to the old way of living, and you always love to pick at me that I'm older than you.
Right.
Well, in my house growing up as a young kid, we had an 8-party line.
Right.
And, boy, them old women loved to get on that line, and they would stay on roost on that phone gossiping.
Right.
And you could hear
8 of them probably at the same time too.
And you could hear no. Let's take away our house. That'd be 7. But you could hear them pick up if you were on the phone, eavesdropping.
Right.
They would listen, and then they would gossip about what you were having a conversation about. It was sort of like you had no privacy. It's like being in the outhouse or backing up. You didn't have to be in the outhouse. You may have to go get behind a tree, but somebody else may see you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But, long story short, yeah, it was, and dadgum, if you had an emergency to call, you had to dial the operator. There was not 911 back then.
Right.
You had to dial that big zero, operator, I need an ambulance. Or you had to call, the sheriff's department number directly, a landline, or the ambulance service. It's amazing how everything has changed nowadays. Even when you pick up a prescription, they know everything about you. And that's just like getting back to these hunting licenses. When you buy a hunting license, guess what the government knows? You got a gun.
That's right.
You got a gun.
Yep.
So they know that. So that's another way for them to track you is by you buying that license. So there's a lot of, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. Now, listen, I've got friends who work for the TWRA. I'm not trying to tick you off. I'm just trying to be politically correct because I want everybody to understand out there, our Constitution, that is a right.
Our Constitution is under attack.
And it's been under attack.
And it's under attack by the left, and they call us Marxists, but they're the ones that are Marxists because, both you and I, we believe in free speech. Even if what you say is idiotic, okay, but you have the right to say it. And I just see it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how, and this is what evil does. Evil projects onto the innocent what evil is actually doing. And what I mean is that when you have the Democrats will call someone like yourself or me Marxists, or they call us fascists. But they're the ones that are the Marxists and the fascists. And the funny thing is that if you talk to a lot of them will tell you, no, I'm a socialist. Well, go look up the definition of a fascist and a socialist and a Marxist and see how very similar they are.
They're usually one and the same.
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate and say they're very similar.
Similar, okay.
Okay, but nothing that we believe, and we believe that we're going to take our directions from the Bible. Okay, I said it. There you go. I don't mind. I don't care how crazy or dumb you think I am. I'm going to take my directions from the Bible itself, and I'm not going to take my directions from man. So, I tell you, Chris, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at how our world is coming into play, and when you're telling these people to go read Revelation, go read the book of Revelation, go read Matthew 24. We're trying to tell you, go look and see what God predicted and told us 2,000 years ago or longer, especially when you talk about in the Old Testament.
4-minute stations, 4 minutes away from your next Fox News Top of the Hour newscast.
And you see that he's right. So how could he be right? Because he was there. God is here.
God is
everywhere. God. We can't explain God, but I do know this. I look at what the Bible says.
Join us every Friday evening from 5 to 6 p.m. for an exciting new program called Free Speech News.
And 9 times
here on WDXE.
Brought to you by Chris Morris
and Lawrence Sutton, where we will discuss two things you're not supposed to talk about, politics and religion. Where we are not politically correct, but biblically correct,
days a
and
year,
we will bring
still
you
get a
the truth in news.
But I was telling I was talking to
This is your
State
Mayor
Rep
Blake
Chris
Blake. And I want
Todd
to
from
express my
Jackson.
sincere
Shout out to
gratitude
Chris.
you, the wonderful citizens of Lawrenceburg and Lawrence County. You make our community special. The City Council and
I was
are
telling him,
honored
I
to
said,
serve you, and we wish you
good
and your
gracious,
family
coming
a
from
joyful
Giles into
Thanksgiving filled with
Lawrence.
blessings.
When I hit the Lawrence, Giles County line, there sat two troopers out there on 64.
We will meet you with a smile.
Then I met another trooper. That was trooper number 3. Then a motorcycle trooper, state trooper, had somebody pulled over up here at
we are located next door to Express Med at 726
North Locust
Avenue in Lawrenceburg.
past the crossroads.
Call us at 762-7223.
Then I turned because we went to eat at Strikers. Shout out Strikers. Kip and I met at Strikers today.
Local, friendly, and fast.
And dog, there was trooper number 5 there at Quick Mart coming out. I said, Lord of mercy. So I didn't tell you I got pulled over on the way over here.
No, you didn't.
And have many
Sure
options
did.
to make
Did you
your
get a ticket?
custom decorated apparel
Yes,
look
sir.
its greatest.
I couldn't believe
And
it.
they pride themselves
Really?
with
First one I ever got in my life.
service.
Are you
HD
kidding
Inc.
me?
is located
No,
at
sir.
26 Ingram Road
You
in
have
Leona.
never gotten a
Just
ticket?
look
Never
for
got
the
a
blue
ticket.
roof.
I did
Call
get one when I was
931-2961 or check
and
out their website.
trooper told me to come to court. They dismissed it. Was my
Hey,
first
this is
ticket,
Tyler Dawson. We
and
here at Doss
I had
Brothers want to thank
oversized
you this
tires on my
Thanksgiving and
vehicle
are
back
grateful
then,
for
you
allowing
know,
us to help build the
redneck
community
effect.
and look forward to seeing it grow
And
and
it threw the
expand in the
speedometer
future.
off about 10
Happy
miles an
Thanksgiving
hour.
from the Doss
And I
Brothers
was-
families
and
to
I
yours
had-
this
he
holiday
didn't
season.
realize that.
Didn't realize it.
Look at
So
this
he was
cable
very
bill.
open and
What on earth can I
forthcoming.
do
I
to get
appreciate
rid
it. And
of
that
some of
state
these
trooper
expenses?
is now
Well,
deceased.
did you know that you can switch to
But-
the entirely
and
free
shout out
Cloud9
state
TV
troopers.
on
But I
your
was on the
Roku
way over
streaming
here.
device for your local weather,
And it come
possible
out of
sports,
nowhere.
and radio, as
I
well
mean,
as
it
partner that
scared
with
me.
Hulu,
It's
Prime
just like a
Video,
while ago
and
when
save up
it's
to
dark out there.
$150 a month.
I go to try to turn into the back of the station.
Well,
and-
you can go to
and actually,
cloud9fiber.com/TV for more information today.
hung this curb and gutter out here the wrong way. So,
Hey,
long
everybody,
story
this is
short,
Sheriff Myers. I'd like to invite y'all
a
to tune
turkey
in
flies
to the
out
new
in front of
local
me.
law enforcement hour on
And I hit this
105.3.
turkey.
Starting this month,
It hit the
5 to 6
windshield.
p.m.
I thought it was
every
gonna
Thursday
bust the
night. I'll be
windshield.
hosting a talk radio show discussing everything from crime trends, sheriff's office stats, and a whole lot more. You can
we
also
back
watch
on?
the show live on YouTube or the
Oh, that's
WDXE
the
Facebook
commercial.
page. If you're tired of the same old on the evening news like I am, then sit
Okay.
down, kick back, and turn
When
your
the
radio
commercial,
on and listen to the hottest
playing
talk
the
radio
commercial.
show in
When the
town.
commercial comes off, tell
Do
me.
you have questions about the high cost of long-term care? Do I need a will or a living trust?
I can't hear
What will
it.
happen to
I
my
mean, I
children
did.
if
I
something
heard
happens to me? Bulletproof Estate
can put
Planning
some
is the show where
earphones
we
on.
talk about these issues and many, many more. You can call during the show and ask your questions, and I'll answer them right on the air. This is Stan Perchowski with Perchowski Estate Law. Tune in to Bulletproof Estate
We're
Planning
not on
every
air
Friday
while
morning
they're
at 8 a.m. on WDXE Talk
Totally,
Radio
we're
at
not on the air at all.
105.3 and 95.3 FM. Hope to see you there.
We just got the commercial.
This is WDXE, W287AA and W237FD Lawrenceburg. Broadcast services of Prospect Communications.
You guys have a program on?
I found the problem. It was
Okay, so yeah, we don't have to stay on if you got other programs.
Can you want me to finish my story?
No,
How are you and your mates viewing this rematch, Jason?
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Everyone who claims the Chiefs Kingdom.
I know I'm
Well,
not viewing this
anyway,
rematch.
I
I
hit
think
the
that
turkey hit
every
my
year is
windshield,
different.
and I thought,
For us, we're
gosh,
just really
it's
trying to
gonna
focus
bust my
on
windshield.
who the Chiefs are this year.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio.